Many spend their days passively searching for something interesting to do. Others dig in and find it. While nothing is certain, anything is possible. And the anticipation leads you into action. Because it's here that adventures begin. Stories are unearthed. Secrets are revealed. Fortunes are found. Mysteries are solved. And the past is brought to life. Nothing valued is ever lost. It's simply waiting to be discovered. So here's the question. What are you looking for?
I'm Dave D, and you're watching XP Team USA.
Will you search through the lonely earth for me? Climb through the briar and bramble.
screen for a fabric-covered button.
Totally unrecorded in history.
I would recommend this machine.
He's actually part of the armour plating of the Junkers 188.
You told us you want the best from the world of metal detecting. Well, the best is what we do, from group digs to equipment reviews. With me, Laurie McGregor.
And me, Julian Hart, who will be bringing you the finds of a lifetime, the research techniques that you simply cannot live without, and of course, the history that drives us all on.
Veturinn skynjar nú góða húður sem þann selaði, en myndum möggáast leita. Það veit ég ekki sko. Björn, setjum við stór. Setjum við stór rökstóla bróður. Hvað hef ég gjört?
Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, it's 8 o'clock, and it's the Big Detecting Show with myself, David Sadler, and the ever-so-lovely Mr. Adrian Gaylor. Hurrah! How are you, Adrian?
I'm fine, thanks, Dave. You? Happy New Year.
Don't work on this, mate.
Yeah.
Left it don't work. It's not synchronised, is it? We'll get there. Are you well?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yeah, very good. Very good. Christmas out of the way and a new, better year coming ahead.
Hopefully so. Yeah. Unfortunately, many other places like my own area in Cheshire have gone into Tier 4 this afternoon and a lot more into Tier 3. So we have got an article up on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine. You can get the app there or go to archmdmag.com and you'll see the updated news for the Tiers 3 and 4. So not very good for most people. In fact, nearly all people, I don't think, are not going to be able to go metal detecting again unless they've got permission on a public park or something from the local council or via the beach, by the looks of it. So good evening to everybody in the chat room already. Lots of you there. We've got a big show tonight. Sadly, Dan Spencer has been bitten by the COVID malarkey and he's had to race up to Liverpool this evening, so he's not able to join us. So he'll be coming on at some point in the new year and doing a show based solely around the Searcher and Dan's work, etc. So tonight, our other guest is here. He's in the background. He's looking very dapper. Good evening, Mr. Julian Evan Hart. What?
Good evening, guys. Dapper indeed. I don't think I've been called that for decades.
You've got a scarf on, you dapper.
Yeah, I went out earlier on and sort of too old and lazy to take it off. But no, good evening to all the listeners as well. And thank you for tuning in tonight, guys.
Yes, it's been a funny old year. I think we can all agree that. Metal detecting has been kicked in the privates considerably. And I don't think we've had really half a year even to go out metal detecting, Julian.
No, I don't think. I mean, we sort of got to early mid-March, didn't we, sort of thing, and then from then the wheels truly came off all the axles and stopped. You know, the hobby in itself scrimped and scraped along, and you know, club organisers managed to do their best. A lot of people keeping the hobby alive, but I've got to say, for a year that was dramatically terrible in many ways for people, for the hobby itself, some absolutely amazing finds came up this year. Probably one of the best detecting finds years, ranging from small objects and artifacts to major international important discoveries. So absolutely. From that account, that was a very interesting year.
You've took the words right out of my mouth, and I'm sure you've took them out of Adrian's as well. The fact that so many good things have been discovered this year when we didn't expect it. Just the last couple of days researching the past year metal detecting finds, I've been astonished at the things I've forgot. And obviously yourself at the Treasure Hunting magazine and at the Searcher have been privy to things that nobody else has. And I'm sure you can say with all honesty, there's been some mind-blowing finds come to you as the editor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's rich in the irony. And the fact is, we face this world pandemic, and yet that for some, well, it's lady luck, isn't it? Really, throws up some of the most magnificent finds seen for decades, which is astounding, and hopefully serves as some form of salve in some small way, for everyone to be as positive as possible. Because I think at the end of the day, in many cases, that's all we are left with this issue, is to be as positive as possible. And it's, these nice, wondrous finds have coincided with that. It gives one hope. It does give one hope, not reading too much into it. But no, it does. It's a great pleasure to see.
I can see one or two people in the chat room already. John Webb. I know John Webb's been poorly with the virus. I know Graham Stokes' partner's now been bitten by the bug, so he's having to self-isolate along with her. Kev Whitmore, he's been poorly. I hope him and his wife are doing better now. But there's been a lot of people already I can see in the chat room over the last couple of weeks even have been bitten by the bug. Adrian, what's your thoughts on this past year's detecting?
Same as what Jules was saying, for such a short amount of time, some amazing things have been found this year. I don't know whether it's the soil conditions or everyone's got better machines now because they're so good. I've had a cracking year, 6 months. I've had a good year this year, found some really good stuff, and I think it's probably a good job we have had it cut short because the amount of stuff the flows are having to deal with. I went onto the Portable Antiquities Scheme website tonight, funny enough, and the amount of stuff they're registering just this month is loads. And how the hell they keep up with it, I really don't know. I mean, do you remember I found that ring, Dave, last year, that medieval ring?
Yeah.
My flow, I just emailed her today, and she came back to me about 5 minutes ago, which, hats off to her. She's working till 8 o'clock at night. Whereas I had to phone DBLA today, and they're not back till January the 4th. So it just goes to show, they're doing their utmost. So hats off to them. But it's been an amazing year.
Well, we've been putting the article together on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, which we're going to be looking at later regarding the finds of the year. One of them you actually pointed out to me was the 1.5 millionth object. Has now been added to the Portable Antiquities Scheme database. We've actually got that individual item, so that tells you how difficult their job is. Yeah,
I mean, what a database. 1.5 million items on there is like amazing, really is. But yeah, good stuff. But yeah, let's hope that they get all the support they can to speed things up when we all get back out on the field. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, gents, what I'll do now, I will share the screen and I'll bring up the article that I mentioned and run through the finds that we've put together. And then after the break, when we've got a little bit more time, we'll go through the ones that Julian sent over and the few that Dan sent as well. So we will have a look at them after the break. Don't forget the break's at 8:45 when we'll be having the live Diggers Dips draw, which will be changing a little bit next week. And you will see all about that on the Big Detecting Show Facebook group when that is all confirmed. So without further ado, Luke's not there tonight. Just to let you know, by the way, it's Laura tonight. If I keep saying Luke, that's because I'm used to it. But the lovely Mrs. Higgins is producing the show tonight, and we can't thank her enough. Because already it's just as good as normal. Luke's taught her well. Sorry, Laura, you've taught yourself well. He's always at work. So just sharing a screen. I hope this works, because last week we had some gremlins in the house, and it's all working fine. So, as you can see, best metal detecting finds of 2020. Some bit of a preamble, but we'll go straight into it. Now, Julian, do you remember this one? The Wrexham Roman Villa uncovered by metal detectorists.
I do. What a fantastic discovery that was.
It is.
I can't, obviously, excuses, age and memory. I can't actually, I feel this must have been around about April or a bit earlier. I can't remember a lot about it. But what absolutely amazing, and the finds were fantastic from this.
Yeah.
Credit to everybody that was involved, from the initial metal detectorists to everybody that came and found, another part of our missing heritage. Absolutely superb. Stuff of dreams, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Well,
this for me is, I know the area very well. My brother lived in Wrexham. He's just moved. Rossett, when I used to go travelling around the place, I worked at Airbus in Broughton, which isn't very far away. So I actually know Rossett pretty well. I actually lectured in a pub there for the science festivals good 20 years ago. But basically, metal detectorists found the Roman material on a site, sparking a remote sensing survey by archaeologists who found evidence of a buried structure. The remains in a field in Rossett include stone and timber buildings around the central courtyard. Artifacts have been found from the 1st century and early 4th, suggesting the villa was occupied for the majority of Roman rule in Britain. And as you say, when it comes to significance, Julian, for the area, I know that is very significant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to say, many seasoned detectives will probably be looking at the photo and that tape. And I've just got to say, you look at that soil, that is Roman soil. When you've been doing it for a long time, and maybe not so long, you look at that, and obviously I can see a good flint scatter there. Look what orange tile fragments, but just the general fine, what I call a greyish brown tilth of Rome. Once you find that, if that's your first permission, or you just arrive there after it's been rolled, with a bit of experience, that there's something absolutely magnificent there. And there was, credit to these guys. All credit to them. Fantastic discovery.
Absolutely. Next up, Adrian, you actually sent this one to me earlier, so I'll let you talk about this one if you want.
Oh, God. Well, I don't know what I'm going to bloody say, apart from I just think it's really, really nice and interesting. I think it's probably better if you scroll through it and read it out, Dave.
Right, yeah. Well, basically, a lady called Mel Holwogger, I hope I pronounced that correctly, unearthed a sword scabbard mount and a rare gold band in fields in Norfolk. So that's the scabbard mount. Am I right?
Yeah. She's an amateur detectorist, and I do like it when you get people new to the hobby. You get these poor people, many of us, who go out week in, week out and don't find anything but ring pulls and lead. And yet someone like that goes out with a low-level machine and finds something amazing like that. It's really good.
This was actually, the machine itself was passed down from a father who'd passed away, who used to go out detecting with her husband. So as a bit of a sentimental value for her going out with her husband and coming up with not only that, but that.
Yeah, lovely. A nice story and a nice find.
Absolutely.
Stunning find. Have you covered this one all in TH, Julian?
Yes, I was in contact with Mel a couple of months ago. And again, memory here. I know we covered the scabbard mount because that's one of a few gold ones found. The other notable ones obviously came out of a Sutton Hoo burial mound. About 7th, very early 8th century they are, but more 7th century. And the filigree on that, I believe that looks like a finger ring to me. Again, marvellous. Not quite as high standard as the ones from Sutton Hoo, but certainly, this would have been a major Saxon Thane, possibly prince, possibly king. But whoever he was, and I say he, might have been a lady, but, the Vikings had more female warriors as opposed to Saxons, but beautiful objects. Again, second classification of stuff of dreams really is. And these dreams are reality.
Now, next up, it's an article that was covered in the Searcher. Dan sent this over to speak about as well, but there's 2 images again for this, and it's basically in the Scottish borders. I think it was near Peeble. Marius Steppians discovered the Bronze Age hoard, including a sword as well. So it wants to take up a bit of the story on that.
Oh, can do. I'd say had no dealings with this marvellous discovery. But yeah, interesting Bronze Age artifacts. I think if I might be right in saying that those discoid things are pretty unique, or certainly none have been found in such quantity. The most unusual to find a sword deposition as well harks that word votive again, which we all use a lot normally when we don't know necessarily what we're talking about. But absolutely fabulous discovery again. Really beyond the Dark Ages. I mean, this is 3,500 years ago that was put in the ground.
Well, how many people, Julian, would actually pick that up and think nothing of it?
Well, this is the thing.
It looks like nothing in some respects.
Yeah. Now that discovery, with the rarity of those artifacts, is now available to every detectorist in the UK who might show it to a mate. Oh, look at this bit of tat, and his mate goes, "Oh, no, geez, I'll see something like that in the Searcher magazine." Fantastic. That's what about sharing information is so vital in our hobby.
Absolutely. And as you can see, this is the sword, and this was mid-June that this was discovered. The bronze object was buried 0.5 metre underground, so it's quite deep as well.
Certainly was.
Nice.
And love these exploration shots.
I think archaeologists have already been on site, but they're due to go back, obviously, when things improve in the next year to conduct a bigger study of the field. Beautiful, anyway. Now, another one that Adrian mentioned to me yesterday, and I also remembered it, were the two coins that were discovered by two separate young boys. I say boys, teenagers. And this one in particular, Harold II silver penny dating back to 1066. Stunning, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely, isn't it?
Lovely.
As struck, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, coins like that, absolutely fantastic, particularly from that very evocative date as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes. That is a beautiful coin and very rare to find in that good condition with such a clear dye impression of the bust as well.
I think both of these went to sale at Hanson's auction, so I'm not sure exactly where they'll be. But this is the second coin, and this was dug up by Walter Taylor. The first one was Reese Pickering, who was 17, and this one is Walter Taylor, who was 16. The first one was in Great Yarmouth-ish, and this one is, I presume, in Essex. So your neck of the woods, young man.
Yeah, certainly was. Well, both of us, yeah, absolutely. Again, I can't read.
It's a Henry I pointing at a comet.
Yeah, again, a marvellous coin. I've been lucky enough to find several Roman coins, Republican, that have had stars and comet references next to the bust. And this again, I believe this was Halley's comet, this one refers to, which was, I think, visible obviously at the year of striking or just the year previously. Yeah. But when you record such an astronomical events, and the coin as well, that bust is incredibly rare, if not unique. I've certainly never seen one before for what it's worth in the hammered world, but a stunning coin. That makes your year. And in fact, that probably irritates you. The fact is that you might not ever beat such a beautiful find.
Yeah.
Absolutely marvellous.
It's a Henry I silver penny, and from 1106. And I'm pretty sure you're right in saying it did depict Halley's comet.
I'm pretty certain it did. I mean, a Henry I coin is a victory for any metal detectorist anyway, in pretty much any condition. But that for Henry I, that's a lovely, sharp, face-on portrait as well. Very, very unusual.
Adrian, thoughts?
I wonder if they upgraded their metal detector or brought a PlayStation 5. They could probably afford both.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Beautiful finds nonetheless. Now, this one, it was in all the papers. Young Luke Mahoney, he from Joan Allen, discovered 1,000 silver coins on land belonging to the Lindsay Rose pub in Lindsay in Suffolk.
Just stunning. It's a classic Civil War period deposition. I think there was mainly maybe crowns, half crowns, if I remember rightly, a few of Elizabeth I as well in there. But I've got to say this: I've known that guy, and I've known Luke, and I know that others were involved. I've known Luke a long old time, and it's a lovely situation to see a guy, a geezer, who puts so much into the hobby, and he really does. And a lot of people don't know just how much he does. Get that type of almost like you're done good, lad. That's brilliant. I was really pleased for him and all the other guys who found that, because again, it's that magical word hoard. It's one of those things. Many of us will never ever encounter. We all dream of doing so, and when I saw the feed come up on Facebook with this, I just thought, brilliant. And thanks to all the guys on this hoard for sharing the story and allowing me to write their version of the day with all their input, which was an amazing privilege.
Lovely how they've got
look at that.
Oh. That's lovely as well. No one's like a spade in it.
Yeah, I know. It's glorious.
So these coins dated from the 15th to 17th century. The earliest coin was Elizabeth I shilling, and the oldest, and it also contained a number of Charles I half crowns. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well done there. And yeah, he went totally public with it. It was all over social media. So I think everybody knew what had happened and who had found it and the story behind it as well.
That was fantastic to share in there. And again, I know I go on about sharing. It is such a vital part of our hobby. I come from a generation when we were trading crotal bells as being Roman, and there were no books no reference books. It was you were the reference book, and so was the dealer. If you were selling stuff back in the 70s, there was just nothing to go. And eventually people like Gordon Bailey sat down and made books which became our Bibles. But even now, we've got the books, we've written many of them, but the sharing is absolutely crucial. And the way they did it with that hoard, I mean, that made all of England viewing was standing on the side of the hole as well. And that's tops, absolute tops.
Absolutely. One of the stories that we'll be coming to from yourself in a short moment, that went to pretty ballistics as well when it comes to views, which I'm sure you'll tell us about in a moment.
I think I know what you might be talking about, young man.
This is a gardener discovering a hoard of 15th century gold coins while pulling up the weeds in his garden in the New Forest. Adrian.
Yeah.
I think that's so bizarre. It'd take me a week to get up from finding that if I found that in the back garden. It's an amazing find, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. Jules, have you got much knowledge on that?
By the look of it, you've got nobles and half nobles there. I know this hit the press. This was one that at the time of finding, I remained very, very quiet, and I think was released only on social media by Portable Antiquities or some source derived from therefrom. Amazing, and gave rise to the glorious cynicism of us detectorists. Oh yeah, sure you did. It's one of those things, we always view things like this with, oh yeah, and you were just gardening, first time you've been gardening in 20 years or whatever. But the glorious thing about this hobby is, and although I'm not sure there was a detector used, and might have been afterwards, it is possible. It was possible. It happened. I think we enter into a realm sometimes of cynicism through sheer unbelievability sometimes. But at the end of the day, the main thing is, is to just sit back and admire. And if you dare look at such events and hope one day that's me. However it was found, the irony of it being found gardening, is as plausible as somebody who 1,500 years ago buried a pot of coins somewhere in Britain, and you go out of your metal detector and find it. It is a remarkable statistical odds, but some sound more unlikely than others. But, there is no reason to tell a fib with such a find. It's just such a beautiful find anyway. There's no need to embellish it with, I look down. These things do happen.
In lockdown, Jules, do you remember I detected in my garden for Treasure Hunting magazine? I thought I'd write an article, and I found a 14th century blinking purse bar,
I know.
didn't I, in my front garden? Which
I mean, that just goes to show.
Yeah, and found a Bishopsgate London token. I found front garden, but back garden. Well, it's all sounding a bit funny, isn't it? But yeah, my front garden was nice and clean and tidy, no trash.
That garden was a bit dirty.
But yeah, I had some.
I'm unlucky. I live on a terrace street and I've got a paved back garden.
That's it. I've got a window box, so I'm not saying nothing.
Is it full of dirt? Oh, stop there.
Get your pinpointed on it.
But no, brilliant. That article that you wrote for the magazine, I think, was one of those like a lifeline thrower to everyone, because we were all sort of milling around thinking, oh, Christ, COVID, what do we do? Where can we go? And sometimes even the most experienced people need that little bit. Well, mate, to be honest, you've got your back garden and that's it. And sometimes it takes people to sort of say, well, why don't you go in your back garden and do it? None of us really want to, we'll be quite honest with that. But when the chips are down, the back garden, be it a clean front garden or a dirty back garden, one of those things. I'm not going to let that go now, am I?
It's interesting though you say, Jules, because am I right in saying that a lady wrote to the magazine after that article and she was a friend of your mother's or something?
Yeah, that was quite interesting there, because she'd found a similar object to what you had. And then she said, oh, your surname's very familiar. I used to go to school with a little girl in the 40s called that. And she goes, very unusual surname. So I phoned my mum up and I said, oh, do you remember this bloke? And now they are communicating. But the strangest thing is the lady that saw your artifact and wrote or emailed me is a metal detectorist. She's 79 years old and goes out and about on her own and everything. And now I've connected her with my mum, and they used to go to school together. A beautiful little metal detecting story.
Well, has your mum took up metal detecting with her yet?
No, I don't think she's ever quite understood how her eldest son banters around in all weathers. To be fair, she's one responsible. When I was a kid, Tutankhamun was dragged, in front of me. I had to go to see the exhibition in 1970 up at the British Museum. And, so give her credit where it's due, sort of thing. She did encourage my initial sort of vestigial interest in history. So fair play.
Julian, can I upset you a little bit?
Hey?
Can I upset you?
We can, a lot of people do. It's a habit nature of mine. Please, fire.
When you went to see Tutankhamun in 1970, I wasn't born.
Yeah, God. I was.
Do you know what? Funny enough, it's really weird. But as I get older, I encounter more and more people that say that about my recollections. It's weird. That's a bit of a bloody mystery. But no, yes, I know. You'll soon be 60, Dave. Don't you worry.
Oh, I know. Anyway, moving on. When you said about the person mocking or people mocking them, saying it was found gardening, I've also had people, to me personally, mock this particular find. Bird watching. Oh, it was night or.
No, yes. That does look familiar. Even my poor memory can recollect that.
Well, what we'll do, we won't concentrate on this, because obviously we're going to discuss it after the break in your own time.
Yeah, no worries.
But absolutely.
I'd be happy with one of those.
Absolutely. We've got about 6 minutes till the draw takes place, but this is 3 metal detectorists. Now, there's a bit of a story about this, because they claim that they have been researching it for quite some time and knew that a army shipment going to Bonnie Prince Charlie was in a certain area. And they discovered possibly some of it, maybe all of it. And there you have, it's near Loch Harbour Lock, and there's 200 musket balls, gold and gilt buttons, and they were found by 3 metal detectorists hunting for weapons from France that were the doomed Jacobite military uprising, and they were supposed to be going there. The items were part of a shipment landed just a fortnight after the Battle of Culloden. I love musket balls, and I'd weave if I found them. Absolutely, I would. Absolutely love.
The
Don't
buttons
get a
look
buzz
to
off
be
any
contemporary.
basketball. Sorry?
I said the buttons look from here. I can't quite say look to be contemporary to round about 1740s. So that would be nice. And the musket balls, of course, slightly smaller than our Civil War brown Bess at that stage. But what amazing when you hear rumours and to actually turn it from rumour to fact. That's when the hobby really kicks in. Fantastic find, everyone.
Well done. This was in Luxembourg. Discovery of Nazi-era hoard of gold hidden in the last days of World War II. And I included it because it's a lovely gold hoard. It was found under a tree in Luxembourg inside an envelope embossed with a Nazi swastika and eagle bearing the word Reichsbank. Experts say the markings suggest the coins were stolen from Germany's wartime bank and may have been an inside job. As chaos reigned in the final days of the Third Reich, Florian Bauch took 10 coins near the northern town of Leuenberg, and professionals then excavated around 207, believing they were French, Belgian, Italian, and Austro-Hungarian origin. Fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah, really is.
And modern coins. If you think about the coins in the sense of what metal detectorists normally find, going back to Roman coins, going back to the status and what have you, this is it
is amazing. Isn't it? What I like about that is, the variable nationalities of coins, because old Walter Funk's Reichsbank were really, sticking their mitts in everybody's economies. It was connected with looting art treasures. Foreign banks or invaded country banks were simply emptied of their gold reserves. And, if only those coins, like so much of what we find, if only they could speak.
Yeah.
What a fantastic story.
Wow. Yeah.
10-year-old Boyd finds a century-old sword in Northern Ireland. Look at that. Fiontan Hughes got the metal detector for his birthday, took it out for a spin in his garden and found this.
Yeah, lovely.
He's going to be detecting till the day he dies.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah. They dug up the large mud-covered object, brought it and washed it off with a garden hose. It revealed half of the sword, rusted old sword with an ornate pommel. The sword's ornate handle is most identifiable feature, but antiques experts said the sword is difficult from the photographs. It may be the rust may be exaggerating the size, but believe it to be an English basket-hilted broadsword from 1610 to 1640. Adrian, you could say this one.
Yes, I personally love this. I think you brought it up on the show, quite a few months ago. It was found by, if I recall rightly, a 73-year-old detectorist, which, like Jules said earlier, it's so nice to hear that people of experienced ages are in the hobby.
Oh, where are we going? No, it's there. It's that one. Sorry.
Battlefield, from what I can gather, the pieces are. But to think someone has sat there and played with those pieces as a game, and they've found the whole set, for me is mind blowing. And I don't think it went for that much, Dave, did it? It went for.
I don't think so. But again, Adrian and Julian, these particular things, these pieces, look, for instance, at the one on the left, to the left, bottom left, the centre one. I've got spindle whorls, more or less, not spindle whorls. Yeah, weights, more or less exactly the same as that. The difference between one and another. So finding this and going public with it has caused many people to be able to look into their collection and think similar.
I found a similar square weight the other month, and as soon as I found it, I thought, most people would just think it's a bit of lead, but I detected more around the area, because I thought maybe someone just went, who sunk my battleship, and threw the board up in the air and they all scattered, but they didn't.
Well, we've got 12 seconds. See what I've done then? I've got 10 seconds before the draw takes place for tonight's Diggers Dip prize draw. As I said, next week, I'll release the information when it's confirmed, but next week there will be 3 prizes, and I don't think it's going to include Diggers Dip's tokens. I'm not 100% sure. And as you can see while we're waiting on the right-hand side, there's several live draws that are currently taking place. Pinpoint and accessories, books, spade and diggers, hammered coin draw, and also one where basically it's a pound token and you can get access. If you win on it, you can get a draw to other things. 22.
21.
Jules? 21. Got it.
You did. Well done.
Nick Evans. Well done to Nick Evans, winning this week's Big Detecting Show and Diggers Dips draw. So we will break now for adverts and we'll be back with you momentarily. Finish off this bit and then go on to Jules and the Searchers finds of the year.
A frame for a fabric-covered button.
Unrecorded in history.
I would recommend this machine.
It's actually part of the armour plating of the Junkers 188.
You told us you want the best from the world of metal detecting. Well, the best is what we do. From group digs to equipment reviews. With me, Laurie McGregor.
And me, Julian Hart, who will be bringing you the finds of a lifetime, the research techniques that you simply cannot live without, and of course, the history that drives us all on.
Veturinn skinnir og góla úður sem þann seladi en við myndum mjög á að sleita. Það veit ég ekki sko. Björn, setjum við stór. Setjum við stór rökstóla góður. Hvað hef ég gjört?
Welcome back, everybody. Just scrolling through the comments, tonight's comments. I'm sorry we don't have the time to read everyone's names and comments at the moment. The shows are coming a bit thick and fast and filled with information, so I'm busy doing other things, sadly. But I noticed Reese Pickering, one of the teenagers who found the coin that was a William II silver thing. Can't remember because I'm tired. He's in the chat room anyway. Well done, Reese. Fantastic find. Really, really well done. And it's good to see young people like yourselves actually participating in the hobby because you are the future. So keep it up, young man.
And declaring it and not just putting it on eBay for 20 quid.
I'd have had it for 20 quid.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, but no, that's up to him.
A question for Jules. If you bring Jules back, please, Laura. Here he is. Jules, Darren Booth, History and Earth asks, when does the underground detecting show start?
Right. Well, episode 1 obviously has been a little bit hit by the COVID issues. Was due to come out on the 18th of December. I think it should be coming live. There's a few little tweaks just to be done. There's going to be 12 episodes in total, but the first one should be out certainly, I believe, in the next 2 weeks. But believe you me, I'll social media that a little bit when I know more details. So
what happens if you undergo another ban?
Ban.
All right, mate. I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find somebody who'll let everyone know. But thank you for asking. No, brilliant stuff. I'm well looking forward to that being seen by a lot of people, hopefully.
Do you know, I'm not a lover of metal detecting shows. I love the Detectorists. The one, mine's gone blank, Gary Brunn and Gordon Heritage. Love that show. Even love the American Diggers, KG and Ringy. But it's like YouTube. I can't sit and watch a lot of YouTubers. Other TV shows that have been out over the past years or so. I just can't get into it. I'm really looking forward to this.
You've got to sort of live and learn by experience. So we've taken what we believe to be the good points and aspects from a huge amount of shows. So whether they were good or bad, thank you guys for making them, because we've taken the bits, your best bits, and potted it all together. But while doing so, we've made something that we feel, we hope you like it. It's totally unique. I'm allowed to go off and rant with my views on things and display passion, which I hope is infectious, and as are the other presenters. we've worked hard on it, and we just hope now we're at the stage where, we hope you like it.
Well, as I say, great looking forward to it. Stan's Lad asks where it can be seen. I presume it's got to be the Underground Detecting Show YouTube channel and Facebook group.
Initially, it will be available on YouTube. Obviously, future that side of things, the future developments and marketability is nothing to do with. But yes, it will most certainly be available on YouTube. Certainly for a couple of months or maybe longer. We'll just have to see how we go with that. But there will be a total of 12 individual episodes.
Brilliant. For anybody who forgets, doesn't find it, keep an eye on the Big Detective Show Facebook group, or download the Archaeology Metal Detecting Magazine app on Android, or keep your eye on the website, because we will definitely, not only will we be covering it with articles, introducing it, what have you, but I'm sure we'll be adding it as its own playlist on ArkMD Mag TV as well. So looking forward to that. Anyway, there was only 2 things left for us to look at on the update. There's got to be some more going on in the next couple of days before the post's actually published, because that was the preview version. There was one that there was 2 that Adrian pointed out to me. The first, Adrian, was a schoolboy metal detected in Scotland and found a hand grenade. Am I right?
Yes. I really like this find because it's something I sort of dreamt of growing up in the 70s, early 80s. Went to the cinema and watched a lot of black and white films. Children's Film Foundation, I think it was. But he basically stumbled a load of grenades nearby Glenmore. It was a base used by Norwegian servicemen and women who'd escaped their occupied territory. And it was basically Norwegian commandos that had put these or buried these, and he stumbled across it. And it was very early in the year. I think it was like January, because he got a metal detector for Christmas, went out with it first time and found a box of grenades. I mean, lovely. I'd have loved to have found that. So, it was one of my favourite finds I've read about of the year, really.
The second one was the 1.5 millionth archaeological find reported to the Portable Antiquities Scheme, and it was in Shropshire, and it was a papal bulla. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Papa Bulla. I found one last year myself, actually. But yeah, a very, very. Have you got a picture of it, Dave? Or it's very.
I can bring one up.
One.
Can bring one up if you just bear with me. Talk amongst yourself.
A lot of people get confused, Jules, on the pronunciation of.
I think you can say papal bulla, or I've heard some people call it a papal bulla, but I think it's papal edict, papal doctrines. So yeah, papal bulla, bulle plural, I believe. But yeah, papal bulla is what I tend to go with.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones, isn't it?
It's interesting because it could have been something really, how can I put this, non-interesting, but it was an interesting find.
I've always wanted to find one of those. Always, never.
A gas tap from the 1950s, which wasn't too far behind 1.5 million. If you look on there,
amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, good stuff. Don't worry if you haven't found a picture. Oh, he has found a picture.
There he goes. There you go.
Yeah,
cracking one.
Yeah, really good condition. Yeah.
And that was the 1.5 millionth archaeological find discovered by us, the public, be it archaeology, be it field walking, be it metal detecting, be it probably even magnet fishing. That's the 1.5 million artifacts now on the Portable Antiquities Scheme database. I think it's right in saying, and that is, it's mesmerising. Absolutely mesmerising.
I'll tell you what, Dave, I've got mine here just to show. Oh, no, it always does this. Oh, green screen. That's a waste of time. But mine is not great condition. and I found that last year. Do you remember, Jules? I contacted you.
Yeah, it's good. It shows the size of it.
Yeah, big old thing.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, big old thing. But sorry, I can't get it on the green screen, but it's all rubbish. But yeah, lovely find. Papal.
So if we move on, we can now start having a look at the finds that have been sent to us via both Julian and by Dan. So if in fact, first image it up, I'm gonna do a thank you. I've lost what I'm doing. There I am. So I'll be sharing the screen again, please, Laura. Marvelous. And this is the Archeo boy with his main Christmas present, the MIDI Horde. And he was absolutely ecstatic, and he's been bugging me to get out, but we've just been too busy doing other stuff, and then the weather hit. So thank you, Pete Terrell LP, for sending that over. He absolutely adores it. So there's your first image. Next up, I've just... Oh, no, I haven't. Let's go to the searcher. In fact, let's not go to the searcher. Yes, let's go to the searcher. I've bummed up a little bit there. I've put some of the TH images in. So this is the February edition. And I'm right in saying, Jules, Northern Irish Bronze Age gold?
Yeah, do you know, it's another one. We covered this as well. We, both the magazines shared the story on this one. I can't honestly... It's a Northern Ireland Bronze Age gold. So, yeah, but that's remarkable filigree work for 3,000 years. Initially seeing it, the pin mount is strange, unfamiliar. So, you're not dealing with the Saxons, maybe the Celts. But when you look at just that work is stunning. That sort of work didn't really come in. The Romans were pretty good at it, and the Anglo-Saxons entered a new entity. But for this to be Bronze Age, I mean, apart from the fact is you found a gold fibulae format brooch, amazing find. But for Bronze Age, absolutely astounding. And there was a very good article in that magazine relating to this. The Searcher did a really good exclusive coverage on that, which was...
Well, Dan sent the I asked yourself and Dan for the 5 best stories from your respective magazines, and Dan has obviously sent the covers because hey, all the information's there on the cover. Unfortunately, he's not here to discuss it with us because we've obviously got a little bit more in depth.
I'm sure Dan wouldn't mind because we're great colleagues and friends. If I chip in and sometimes help out with the idea, if something's a bit worthwhile, a bit expanding on, and you want me to do that, that's not a problem.
Certainly,
be an honour to do
that. Next up, a nationally significant gold mancus of King Egbert of Wessex. I'm clueless as to any of that, apart from, to me, it's a gold coin.
Yeah, the mancus style coins, or gold flat pennies, as some people refer to them. I believe there are only 8 or 9 known examples in the world, and they're all of different kings, which lends one to think they're possibly gifts as opposed to coins, struck on the same dies as some of the known silver varieties. This was an amazing thing. I had the great pleasure to speak to the finder on the phone regarding this guy's story, and he was just, he's very much, I've just found an old gold coin, mate. So to prize the story out of him was a task, but it's lovely to meet people like that. He wasn't overwhelmed in the slightest.
Yeah,
really not. And that's, when you get that's an unusual aspect, but a great privilege. He was a communal garden, down to earth geezer, found his coin, wasn't phased in the slightest by it. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant story with that.
Now I know we can all, well, I say we all, I can't, but you can more or less make out what the coin is by the names, the written words on it. But what I find interesting in this particular coin is the symbology. If you're looking at symbology in an ancient manner, there's Mark Ollie, last week's guest. I'm sure he'd be able to talk about the meaning of the crosses, the meaning of that. He'd be able to talk in depth about the symbology there, because I think there probably is more to that coin when it comes to symbology than we actually think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the period which this coin was struck in, They were seeking influences from Frankish mints, some of the Visigothic earlier mints. And the British, we weren't really very innovative with coin design. Like some of the Anglo-Saxon king issues are still using a diadem beaded bust of a Roman emperor with the die cutter. It's not what the king looked like at all. Did he have a beard? Did he? You could even say, a nose is just a triangle with a pellet eye. So we didn't create some of the most beautiful of coinages until probably after 1066, but in its own right, it's unique, a massive contribution to British numismatics. Roll on number 9 or 10, whoever finds that, because it's out there.
Flicking through them because I put them in the wrong file. An incredible Iron Age hoard.
Yeah, unbeatable. Look at that. Look at that. You've got either side of the image what are known as the linchpins. They are obviously iron stems with a copper alloy terminal and finial aside. In between, you've got the bit, the horse bit, which are fabulous finds. And interestingly, the rain guides, more known to detectorists, the 5 circular turreted items, which are turret rings. Quite simple ones, but beautifully decorated. I mean, that is pretty much your complete chariot and single horse. I think there might be another bit underneath there. I can't quite see. Could well be. So maybe that's your complete chariot, 2 horses and rain guides. Again, absolutely marvellous. Yeah. Absolutely marvellous.
Do you know what, Adrian? It just astounds me, the descriptive knowledge of the likes of Julian and Adam Staples and people like that. That describe the intricacy of what every little part of that is. It's just, I think to have that knowledge is.
If you were blind, it would really be helpful because Jules's descriptions are excellent. Yeah, really.
Well, we convert this file onto the podcast format as well. So for people listening, hello, people listening, they've got that description and they close their eyes and you can tell what it looks like. So thank you, Julian. You are, as I've always said,
gentlemen, 43 years of geekiness has given rise to that skill.
Now, this is one we covered before, and it's the Bronze Age hoard from up in Scotland. Again, the images, it's something that you'd look at and say, oh, yeah, but a bit of agricultural and throw it in your bag.
Wouldn't you? The interesting thing about this is, apart from not counting Bronze Age Irish gold and the bog deposits, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? But on this one, decoration on anything Bronze Age, be it an axe head or a spearhead, is incredibly rare. Therefore, these perpetual roundels, they obviously have some symbolism. When I first saw these, I wondered, was that symbolism of a barrow surrounded by loads of ring ditches in there? We just don't know. But the lovely thing about this is, you can have your theories about the design and what it symbolises, and nobody can turn around and say you're wrong. That's where we can all pool in, from a 10-year-old child who might just have a brainwave and think, well, to the seasoned academic professor, who's probably in a bit more of an advantageous position than us. But everyone can muck in with these finds and theorise as to who buried it, why they bury it, why did they never recover it. And that's the great thing about these sort of metal detecting finds. They are, for want of a better word, just enthralling. Absolutely enthralling.
If you saw me looking around then, Julian, it's just occurred to me, I've got a number of books about symbology. There's one up here on Masonic symbology, guide to Masonic symbolism. I've got numerous books about symbology, and I can't remember what they are, so I was just looking around because it makes me think on the like of the coin I've just spoke about and the likes of these concentric circles. Will there be anything now? I'm going to have a look, I think. Now, there's another one from June, a stunning early medieval brooch, and it is stunning.
Yeah, I'm from a generation that says Anglo-Saxon, early medieval. But, that is the highest standard of jewellery workmanship. That sort of thing, would have been made in gold in the Sutton Hoo burial, which was the highest quality workmanship I think ever encountered in Britain. But that in itself you know, I always judge Anglo-Saxon workmanship by Sutton Hoo. That is the ultimate. And this, again, is silver, but it is the ultimate in workmanship. I mean, that must have taken months to prepare that.
Do you know what? I'm just looking at it, and I've not looked properly until now. I've looked, but I've not looked properly.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
The amount of animals within it.
Oh yeah,
outdoors,
you know,
dogs, all sorts.
It's a soup of writhing animals, isn't it? Which none of them are really obvious until you sit down. I mean, you could spend 2 weeks looking at that, work out all the animals, turn it to the left-hand side, and think, oh bloody hell, there's more in there. They just appear out of absolutely nowhere. But no, absolutely fantastic. The interesting thing I find with some of these is the riveting. I found a few Anglo-Saxon objects with the same, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rivets mounted on the top. Now, they are decorative, that we all know. Yeah, you can see clearly there's 5 there. I found several similar brooches, none of that workmanship at all, with this 5 rivets mounted in the top. So whether that's early Christianity, hedging your bets, not wanting to make it too much cruciform, but, you know, I'll go with the pagan animals, but I'll also represent Jesus by having a cross, but don't want to make it too obvious. Don't know. But
obviously, going quite far away from metal detecting, I read an article, one of these random ones that pops up on your timeline on Facebook the other day, concerning Levi jeans and Levi Strauss. And when you look at your pockets on your jeans, there's a little rivet, top of your pocket, by that little pocket that nobody knows what it's for. And that rivet is actually copyrighted by Levi Strauss, and it's actually a strength point. So that's where the strain would be put on your trousers as not to rip. Now, could this be A, symbolic, as you say, or B, is it strength points to hold the whole?
I don't think it's strength points, because the mere fact is that if you have a complete disc of metal and you make sort of cutouts in it, and then you drill holes in it, you are weakening it. Mm-hmm. So in that process, I don't think there'd be support, but they could, in retrospect, looking at the intricacy of the design, serve as sort of, I don't know what of a better word to go down in history for this, but sort of protective nipples, almost like protective. I'm in trouble now. Sort of protective.
So hold on a minute. We've had protective nipples, we've had front gardens and back gardens, and we've had doing a jobby in the bog or something. Not to
they could be to protect that design by offering a raised surface. You know, that surface gets polished away, but the actual design of the animals remains untouched. But a beautiful, beautiful find.
Yeah, it certainly is.
I think Tony Haywood summed up this show. He put a post in the comments, carry on gardening. He talked about carry on detecting. I'm thinking now it'd be a good program to set up, wouldn't it? Carry on detecting.
Can I be St. James?
My shaft is all no.
Marvelous Mars.
Again, another one where both the Searcher and us covered that, because it was just such a fabulous story. Both magazines covered it brilliantly, but from totally different angles. But again, a find like that, I think it was found on a brush-wooded hill slope, and the guide found several, if I remember rightly, Marcus Aurelius Sestertius in the area, which might give a little bit. That does look. I say it's Mars, and it is of that sort of period style of Marcus Aurelius period. But I mean, you know, absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. And look at that glossiness. You know, that's to kill for. But
now, if we you carry on talking about that while I put everything in.
I really don't know what else one can say about that. It is just so eye-opening. So, I mean, God knows what that bloke must have felt when he dug down and saw the initial part. So, I mean, I think most people you'd probably hedge your bets with Victorian, but because he'd found Roman coins in the area, as well as a few other Roman artifacts, I think, you know, he must have just stood back or sat down and, I don't know, collapsed with sheer joy, because, I mean, that is museum quality find. Absolutely museum quality.
Sorry, Jules, I'm laughing.
See everything all right?
I shouldn't talk about the comments. Oh, talking of comments.
Well,
Adrian, before you say anything, can you see the image that I've got up still?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, carry on, sorry.
I'm dreaming.
Yeah, me too. I need 5 minutes out for this one, I think. Well, again, you know, am I ever stuck for words when it comes to describing the beauty of our hobby? Probably not. This is one of those things which is awesomely stunning because of what it is. It is no more awesomely stunning than a 9-year-old kid who first goes out on his first day as detector and finds his first Victoria penny. That is putting this discovery into context. Of course, to be fair to the Horde, it is one of those real, as like the last thing, a sit-down moment. Now, I've seen the glorious cynicism on it. I did speak to the finder in relation to this, and he really didn't want to come forward with his story. He is an ornithologist, as am I, and that initially, before this discovery, provided the link between us. You know, it's one of those things, because you know the difference between a brush 4 locomotive and a penny lilac Victorian stamp, or an Edward Halfpenny, or whatever you collect, Chinese ceramics. If you have another hobby apart from metal detecting, it does not diminish your chances by any capacity of finding a Celtic Horde. They are out there. They're there to be found. Some of the situations, you know, you find them by detecting. This guy is a detectorist, has been for 30 years. Just went out for a country walk over the area where he goes detecting. He takes wildlife photographs, which I've seen a few, and they are well nice. Probably not as good as mine, but there you go. But no, that's his photographs are absolutely great, and it's just one of those things. You know, he didn't want to come forward with the story, partly because of that, and I said, no, just tell it as it is. Right, tell it as it is. It will, of course, it will get cynicism, but as I say, just because you have other hobbies doesn't mean that you can't go out and find a Celtic Horde. You know, it's just the great glory of our hobby. It's just a fabulous find. Its contribution to British numismatics is, you know, what was this? Is it a Boadicea war chest? Is it a major financial transaction intertribal? What is it? We can only guess. And again, everyone can jump on the bandwagon and have a guess. You know, I love the cynicism in our hobby. And sometimes, you know, I think that's born out of, in the past, there have been some, shall we say, speech marksy, dodgy claims of locational discoveries. But this really isn't one of them. But if it provides humour and a bit of a laugh, you know, I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm all up for that.
How many were there exactly, do you know?
Don't quite know, because it involved sort of, he put them in 2 Tesco carrier bags, got a fair few out, and I think that came to about 950. But I don't think they've all been counted. And judging just by bulkage, I think you could probably go to about 1,200, 1,003. The biggest hoard prior to this, of course, was Wickham Market, found, I think, 2008, and that was 850 staters. That's the biggest UK mainland hoard, not counting, of course, the Channel Islands hoard of French-struck staters, or French tribal staters, or Moroccan staters. But this, as it stands, even before the absolute final count, is mainland Britain's biggest ever hoard of Celtic gold. You know, so that in itself just makes you stand back and think, wow, what an amazing discovery. You know, that's the reason we went to press with the story, because it's just awesome. You know, and so I coaxed the finder to tell his story, and now he has. You know,
you know, hats off to the guy who I won't say his name, who found it. It's he's been detecting on that permission for over 7 years. He brought a new machine last year. He used quite an old machine. He bought a new machine last year, And since he went out on that his permission, he found a lot more finds. And then suddenly one day he got a signal. I think it was 14 or 15 on his knocks, wasn't it, Jules?
Something I believe, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very faint signal. And he dug down after seeing them on the surface, which, like Jules said, he is a bird watcher. I've physically been in his house and seen the pictures on the wall. He's got pictures of birds everywhere and stuff. He dug down, and what amazes me is they were in a pot, and the plough had obviously clipped the top of the pot and lifted a few on the surface, which he saw, and he fortunately was a metal detectorist and went home, got his machine and dug down. But the signal wasn't great. He kept digging, and I think it was about 2 foot in the end, wasn't it, Jules?
I believe it was in total. Just to slightly change subject, on that photograph of the coins laying on the magazine, Christine is our layout lady who does all the graphics of front covers. I love her work. She is so skilled. But I've got to say to you, Christine, that's the only time I've seen your layout artwork improved.
Jules?
Yeah.
I took that photo.
Yeah, I know. No, what I'm saying is Christine's artwork is improved with that.
Oh yes. Hats off our artwork of Christine. The magazine layout and everything is really nice, and how she's done it on this month's magazine, which everyone can go and buy, with the horde on the front cover.
Report, basically, the Treasure Hunters magazine's full reports in this month.
Yeah, there's a brief report in there, Jules, isn't there? It's not the full report. But hats off to the guy for submitting. It's one of these things. You find a hoard, and we all know what you should do, but the issues around it, because obviously that permission you want to keep quiet for the benefit of the landowner and also the archaeologists and the history. So it's quite stressful finding something like that. And I do feel for him, but it is absolutely gorgeous finding that many gold staters. It's lovely. And carrier bags. I love, what would we do without our carrier bags, Jules? How did we get that home?
That is real. That is, I don't know, again, I keep saying stuff of dreams, but, sometimes I have thought in the past, what would it be like if I did go out and found a hoard, and have I got one of my old apple scrumping carrier bags on me or something like that? But yeah, the imagery of struggling back across the field, trying to hold I believe it was a Knox, if I remember rightly, trying to hold his spade and 2 carrier bags. I just wish I'd been there to take a photo, because that needs to be drawn as a caricature. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next one, which I obviously am completely in your hands, Julian. It's a man on the horse as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, this was part of the a hoard of possible Roman votive objects found a couple of months ago, and both the guys, I think it was, if I remember rightly, forgive me guys, my memory really is shot these days. I think it was Mark and it's
James
gone. James, Mark Didlick and James. And they shared their story with me, and it is a major discovery. A beautiful bronze bust that was found, and they took photographs. They didn't know at the time. They thought the horseman initially could have been a much later date, because he was covered in clay. You couldn't see anything, and these were the very first Roman things they'd found on the site. Strewn with metallic finds from modern day backwards, but these were the first Roman things. Again, there was a bust, a horseman, a horse head protome, and which is just a horse head and neck mount, and mysteriously a plumb bob, a beautiful bronze plumb bob as well. So there were these 4 objects, and again, it leads you into that realms of, you might say fantasy, but what significance these beautiful objects have. Similar busts have been found in Cambridgeshire, similar horsemen as well, and horse head protomes. So they're almost certainly mini religious depositions. Perhaps some of the artifacts vary with them, and in this case, a plumb bob. Well, perhaps this guy was a builder, and that represented his life and his views, his favourite emperor. Maybe he owned horses as well through being a good builder. We don't know, but these hoards, they are very rare, not unknown. So yeah, but to both of those finders, guys, look at that. I mean, just it's absolutely stunning. And even at this stage, they weren't quite sure these, because the Victorians, don't forget, the Edwardians, and in the Renaissance period and the recovery periods, 1690 to 1780, a lot of artifacts like this were manufactured as tourist pieces, manufactured in Britain as clock mounts and various things. So, they weren't quite sure, but they certainly are now. Absolutely fantastic.
There he is again.
Look at that. I mean, does not that look right through you?
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd love to. I'm pretty sure I've seen similar, a bigger version that you put on your face in Clash of the Titans, the original.
Oh, yeah, doesn't it just? It's just that period of, the double split beard at the bottom, and those eyes are just, absolutely amazing.
Roman nose.
Yeah, and look at the size of the thing. Yeah, you can see the plumb bob clearly at the bottom there. And to the left of that is the horse. Well, it's actually a horse. Could be broken. I can't quite see, but it's normally would be called a protome because it's only part of the animal. But, what does it mean? And that's a great thing. We can all spend the next year. I'm sure the academics will research it and put it in correlation with the other deposits of the same similarity. But, for the working layman like us and lay lady, if that is such a phrase, we can all have a thought into what this means, and I think that's fantastic.
Yes, truly. This is pretty little thing as well.
Yes, that was found by a good friend of mine. Out, I believe, on another friend's permission. That's when he pushed friendship to the limit of that, but I'm sure everything will be sorted. But that's beautiful. Thanks to Adam Staples for translating the Latin legend on that. It said partially, it says Ave Maria. So, but there's other things. It translates something as Our Lady Mary in the grace of God or something like that. But each one of those little turrets, did I send you an image of the other side? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Each one of those little turrets would have had an emerald, a bright green emerald. Can you imagine that yellowness? That's 23 plus carat gold, combined with what I call the pirate emerald. Golden emeralds are just the best, in my opinion. The green contrast, beautiful. How do we know they're emeralds? Is because when he came round my house to let me take that photograph, we looked in the bottom of the bag. This was straight off the field, and I spotted a tiny little green stone. So we carefully washed it, and it was a decayed emerald. So, we don't know that there were emeralds in every one. Maybe they were alternating. But hopefully, when the flow or whoever responsible cleans this and removes the mud deposits, there will be other stones pushed down into the turret, so we can get an idea. Maybe it was red green,
yeah,
or maybe it was all green, but just beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
Wow.
Look at that. Yeah, this was one of those. I just loved it. That was it. That was a very small Bronze Age deposit, beautiful armilla or wristband, with a mid Bronze Age period pal stave, but that sword. To find find a Bronze Age sword with a handle, because most of them were screwed into horn or wood, but this one actually has an encompassing socketed handle that was riveted to the blade, and it's decorated as well. I mean, that is simply amazing. I know the gentleman who found this personally, and ever so pleased for him when he found this. He's, if I remember rightly, so I know him, but that doesn't cure my bad memory. He hasn't been detecting for a great period of time, so hats off to you, sir, and thank you once again for sharing an amazing experience associated with an amazing find. I mean, look at that. Jeez.
Cool. That is lovely.
It is, isn't it? You'd just be tempted to super glue it together and dance around the living room with it. Yeah, that's the armilla, or sort of armband or bracelet, basically. Again, decorated. Incredibly rare for the Bronze Age. To put that, but a beautiful, beautiful artifact.
And that is, I take it that's more or less straight out of the ground, that as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
not cleaned it up.
Yeah, that's still got the adherent soil particulate stuck on it, as you can see. But you can tell just from that photo, the patina is brilliantly stable.
Lovely.
And there you go, the classic pal stave. Again, a fantastic one. Suffers slightly from its deposition of 3,500 years with the greenishness inside the socket where water has obviously been captured. But again, apart from that, which is perfectly treatable, the patina is beautifully stable on that. A fabulous, fabulous little collection of artifacts.
Look at that.
Wow.
Mesmerising to be.
It really is, isn't it? It's very.
I mean, look at the one we had, the young lad in Ireland found before. It was obviously, it's decayed. You can't see anything. And this is it's perfect. Well, it's broken 2 places, but you know exactly what it is.
You just love to know the history of what that was on, how, where, when.
Was it ceremonial? Was it used?
Did anyone? Shut up, Adrian.
Shut up, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Look at the quality of that riveting.
Oh my God, that is such.
This just is just absolutely stunning. And that's another interesting thing. If you found that out in the field, you'd probably think, "Oh, I'm liking this. It could be Bronze Age," although patination is not a measure to go by. I've seen better, glossier, greener patina on Victorian objects than are on Roman or Bronze Age objects. So it's no guarantee of age, is our friend patina. But when you find something like that, you'd probably sort of put it in your hand and grip and think, do you know what? It could be. But now people have seen this. Maybe there are broken handles out there, or just the angled apex where the rivets are, sort of thing. Maybe they're out there in people's junk boxes, and we can find and discover more.
Do you know what, Adrian? As you know, by trade, I'm an aircraft fitter, so I've worked on a lot of aircraft, from the Hawker business jet to the Airbuses to the Nimrod, and I've seen worse riveting on aircraft than that.
Yeah,
and that's 3,000 years old.
Mad, isn't it?
Isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
Jonathan Bowles' collection. Now, tell me about this, because I'm struggling from this particular image to make out what is left.
This shows you the effects of soil compression on a copper alloy Anglo-Saxon hanging bowl. You can just see the base bit. It's pretty much like a very thin copper alloy helmet. It's broken. Horses and tractors or whatever driven over that for whatever the last couple of thousand years, compressed it and broken it. But the interesting things are, it's got the base mount, which is actually mounted inside the pot where the fluid is held. A very similar one of this again was found at Sutton Hoo in some of the tumuli there, and about a mile away. These Anglo-Saxon hanging bowls are quite common, if one can ever say that, in areas of Essex. But this one shows you the enamelled mount. So around this thing, it would have been hanging off a chain, like a cauldron, with a fire underneath it. And you can see the 3 mounts where the chains hung on, but the solder's decayed and they've migrated away from the main body. But again, this was one of those finds. When you look at it, looks a bit battered, but there are other photos that the finder sent to me, and these escutcheon mounts, they're all enamelled, just a stunning level of artwork. It's a shame it's broken. That's true enough, but now at least it's out of the ground, and this will end up in the museum without a doubt, and great stuff too, because thousands of people will be able to derive almost as much pleasure as the finder did originally. It is a magnificent discovery, and whoever owned that would, again, you're looking at probably a senior tribal chieftain, or maybe even a prince. Similar ones were found near Sutton Hoo. So if they were good enough for a king, and his royal family, then who knows? It could be one of those transient royal families splashed all over England. And this is the only thing that history has left of, we can record them. But again,
you keep mentioning Sutton Hoo. I just picked up a book there that I've had for a number of years. It was published in 1988 by Charles Green, called Sutton Hoo, The Excavation of a Royal Burial, and it is so informative, it's untrue. But also, for people who have Netflix, there's a new program coming on. I think it's called The Dig, starring, is it Ralph Fiennes or one of the other Fiennes? And it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's all about the original finding and the process of working through wartime to excavate the site, and it looks fascinating.
When's that on?
I will Google as you talk between yourselves.
Yeah, Sutton Hoo is always something that I've been interested. Basil Brown, the original gamekeeper, love it. I mean, just when Mrs. Pretty's just says to the gamekeeper, "Go, Basil, I've got a few mounds I want opening up." Sounds dodgy again, but hey-ho. Basil Brown died, I believe, in the early 70s. And out of all of British archaeology, it's that guy. I wish I'd met him. I would love to have spoken to him to get the flavour of, she sat him down, give him a cup of tea and said, "Oh, well, what are we going to do over the summer? Shall we open the mounds up, Basil?" And he was trained by his father in all aspects of archaeology. I don't think he went down too well in those days with Cambridge University and the other academics, as the film will show you. But he is, what for me, is one of archaeology's forgotten heroes. All the big names associated with Sutton Hoo. Yeah, not many people know of dear old Basil Brown, and this film hopefully will right that. We'll put it into focus, because what an amazing, amazing gentleman he must have been. Hello, Mrs. Pretty, I found a ship. As you do, Basil, as you do in the back garden.
Sorry, Jules. David E. Jones has just said 29th of January on Netflix. So I'll put that in mind.
I think it's the 29th, and Lisa's just said I think there's maybe a limited airing on the 15th, but I'm not sure on availability. But 29th, definitely.
Lisa, is she there?
Yeah.
Oh, where is she? She hiding? Hello, Lisa. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good. Thank you.
Hi, Lisa.
Thank you. Still your man tonight. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know you watch the Coronation Street omnibus, but unfortunately,
we were all right. It's scheduled to be released on a limited release on the 15th of January, followed by streaming on Netflix from the 29th.
I've been
you were all right.
Following this release date. I've been saying, "Oh, Jules, look, the dig's on soon."
No, that'd be good.
Well worth a visit to Sutton Hoo as well for those who've never been. Absolutely.
I know they've recently made a new visitor centre there, haven't they?
The visitor centre. When you go inside,
recently, didn't we? We went there just before lockdown. Was it during lockdown?
Are you doing
sorry,
this?
Sorry. I let him.
The visitor centre is laid out barrow by barrow, and Mrs. Pretty insisted that the stuff was because it was hers. The treasure trove laws back then were quite complicated, and it was her. But she only lived, I believe, up until 1943, so only 4 years after it was dug. But she had willed it from her will to the British Museum on proviso that I think that every year a portion of the treasure comes back to Sutton Hoo, so the general public can see it if ever a visitor centre or museum was made, and it was, and it is. So you can see some of the genuine stuff there, but it's amazing. And in the middle, they've got a life-size model of the boat with a model of the king wrapped in furs and all reproduction bits around them that you can see. And I tell you what, that model is so good, you expect that geezer to blink. He is so lifelike. But when you walk over Sutton Hoo Fields and you see the mounds, there are some stories of supernatural occurrences there and chieftain-type people being seen with shields and swords, particularly in the 1940s. when, funny enough, the American Army went over Sutton Hoo and drove their Sherman tanks all over it in the later period of the war. Unfortunately, the ship managed to survive limitedly, but there were quite a few. I've seen this weird-looking geezer with a round shield and a sword, and I love stuff like that because when you go to Sutton Hoo, I'll tell you what, you get an immense feeling of like you're almost intruding into something buried and ancient, So I'd love to have spoken to Basil and found out, what did he see anything strange while he was excavating? I just love it.
When lockdown's over, I've been up there a couple of times with the kids, so it's been too busy with pushchairs and buggies. But now I'm more mature. I'm going to go up there one day. I'll take you with me.
We'll do it.
We'll do it. And Lisa, sorry. There she is.
Also, there's loads of mushrooms up there because I've got a foraging book. So there was all these mushrooms that they're up there. So
this is registering one on the relevance.
I'm sorry, because I've got a mushroom book for Christmas, so there was lots of mushrooms up there, so I'm going to pick some of them.
Oh, so as well as all this, gardens and bogs and stuff, we're now on about sort of taking mushrooms and having trips.
I thought she said mushrooms.
Well, I'm sure some of the mushrooms up there might be able to help you see an ancient warrior.
Now, Julian, we finished looking at the images that you sent me, but you also showed me a few additional. And this is one that I'd love to be able to speak to somebody, an English-speaking person from the organisation.
Yeah,
this is, am I right in saying Legnica?
This was sent in an article in the current issue of Treasure Hunting magazine, written by Steve Newman of the Legenda Group. These guys, like me, I was into aviation archaeology, and we found human remains, and inevitably sometimes you do run into a little bit of, as long as the human remains are handled with utmost respect. But these guys specialise in tracing people through identity tags and sending the remains back to families, and from that point of view, I've been involved with taking families back to where their fathers or uncles or brothers were killed, particularly in relation to air crashes. And I've seen the emotions, I've experienced the emotions. I've been involved with excavations where human remains have been found, and I've seen firsthand the closure of, Uncle Edward's not wandering around in a French lunatic asylum somewhere for 70, 80 years. He really did die. We have closure. And what these guys achieve is just absolutely amazing. I would say to anybody, if you get hold of a copy of this magazine by hook or by crook, read this story, because there's a little bit, I'll very briefly go into it. They were digging up a cemetery, I believe, in Latvia. And they had a wartime document that referenced it, not very accurate. And this little farmer came over, about 90 odd, and he said, I got to know all the SS soldiers in this field hospital. He said, and they used to give me sweets and everything. I thought, and there's a side of the war you don't hear of very often. He was a Latvian kid. And they said they put me on their knees, and I got to know the nurses, and everyone's there. And there was one SS guy, about 22 years old. Everyone called him the Scandinavian because he was about 6'5", blue hair, blonde eyes. And this kid and him, they formed some form of weird wartime relationship sort of thing, where the kid would visit him in hospital every day. Unfortunately, the kid turned up one day and he died. And all the others were saying, I'm really sorry, but the Scandinavian, he died 9 o'clock this morning. When the Legenda turned up, this guy came across and said, I still live in the same farm where all this happened. He said, and every time I drive down the track, he said, the rumours are, he said, that my Scandinavian mate sort of thing was buried here. When Legenda dug up, he said, the cemetery goes on the other side of the track as well, and they didn't. And they dug it up. And they found 3 bodies of SS soldiers. One of them was over 6 foot tall and had a beer bottle on his chest. And inside it was a message written by his comrades in the hospital to our beloved and good friend, the Scandinavian. Wow. And this guy said, I've waited 80 years to sort of see him again. And to know, because I didn't know whether he'd died, he could have gone somewhere. It was wartime, everything was confused. He said, but now I'm at peace. He said, because although I was only sort of 6 or 7, he said, I knew this guy for about 4 months. He said, and I felt like he was family. And that is a side of war, particularly, with the SS, that you don't get to hear about. But when Legenda move in and they get the local history, this guy, bless him, he's 90 years old, he's going to be dead soon. None of that would have been known about.
No.
So it's all about recording the verbal history as well. But these guys, as you can probably imagine, I have nothing but praise for.
How passionate are they, Julian? I mean, we put a live video on most weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I've had communications with several of the guys. Bless them, they sent me a wartime style tin tea mug with their thing on, saying thank you, Julian, from all of us at Legenda for telling our story, because they're a very private group. And I got to know Steve, sort of only never met him, but on the internet. And I was saying, there's things like this. This is a tiny, tiny portion. It's a 9-page article, the biggest we've ever published. And it's a tiny portion of what these lads have been up to. They are passionate about finding the missing, like that, and they're connected with a lot of academic circles out there and archaeological groups. There's a big bad name with excavating some of the cemeteries, but these are by people who plunder the bodies to steal personal belongings, and that is terrible, because when you take the personal belongings from the body, that just becomes a skeleton. But what Legenda do, they keep everything intact. They're not profit making at all, and that skeleton has a name, a family, and can be sent back to them where possible. And they do it with Russian soldiers, German soldiers, Croatians, Latvians, and they've got nothing but praise. But they are very dedicated. But they don't tell their story. They've got a website and they show some stuff on there. But I wanted to capture, why do you do this? When you read the stories, I say it's in this month's Treasure Hunter magazine. It cannot fail, and I promise you this: it cannot fail to bring a tear to your eye, because it's just absolutely amazing. I can hear my throat getting emotional about it, and I don't even know these guys, but I can appreciate what they do, and what they do is just amazing. But that's proper.
Nick West has said in the chat room he's been involved in digging up lost soldiers of the Spanish Civil War.
Oh, Nick, yeah. And again, a guy who I hope to meet in the new year. We've been friends on Facebook for probably a decade or more. His mates are all my mates, and we all seem to share the same interests. But yeah, Nick, nice one, sir. Well done for everything that you do with your metal detecting war relics group, and that fascinating, mate. I have as much praise for you as I do, the Legenda group and all you guys who go out there and do this sort of thing. It's absolutely amazing.
Anyone who is interested in the metal detecting war relics group, you can actually find that on Detector Network, and obviously join that and speak to Nick on there about anything relating to war relics. And honestly, some of the things that I've seen on there are phenomenal. And there's been several occasions that people have asked me for identification. There was one guy up in Stuart Payne up in Scotland who found a mortar shell, and I got on to Nick, and within 5 minutes Nick had actually told me everything that anybody needed to know about a mortar shell. So again, somebody with a fantastic knowledge of a certain area.
Yeah. Nick, you're welcome round the house in the new year when all this is over, sir.
I agree with you, Jules. I hope to meet Nick later on in the year, and maybe me and you, Jules, can get in the car and meet up with him and have a chat. But that article in the magazine.
Sorry, Adrian.
Sorry, that article in the magazine, Jules, you were talking about. Like you say, it's like 9 pages of just it's a green screen going all wrong. 9 pages of a book. It's a great read. It is so well put together and lovely, and it's not the sort of thing that you'll find on social media. And I must say, when I read it this month, I just thought, oh my God, this this is something that really hits the heart. So
I'm hoping they'll write a part 2, and I'm sure that they will, now that they know that, you know, the magazine is trustworthy and is not attacking them or taking a moralistic view on it. I'm hoping that Legenda, you know, and hi, any of you guys out there who are listening to the radio show, you know, I would love to do a second part of this article, because I know that you've got some amazing stories to share. And, you know, thank you for trusting me to, and the magazine and everyone involved in sharing your story, because that in itself is one of the highest privileges a magazine editor, or indeed anyone, can ever experience. So, you know, guys, keep up the good work. Brilliant.
There's an actual program on Netflix called Battlefield Recovery that was attacked somewhat when it first came out a few years ago. Chris from Addicted to Bleeps was part of the program, plus the guy from the one with Suggs. You know the one I'm on about, Adrian? What is it?
Oh, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, Stephen works with Suggs. Can't think what his name is.
You know what I'm on about. You know the program.
Yeah.
Metal detecting water. Anyway, him, another guy, Englishman, and a very annoying American person. But the team that were working alongside them were actually Legenda. So you get to see some of the things that they're doing, but from an English perspective. And to be honest, watching it back for a second time years after it was originally on, realizing things a little bit different than the TV actually makes it out, it was a fine show, to be fair.
I agree, because we've had Chris Addicted to Bleeps on the show. I've messaged him because his dad passed away the same day as my dad passed away, which was a bit bizarre, but we were chatting, and the way television portrays things is quite different to what people want to put across. And I think when you're discovering stuff which is so sensitive, you sometimes get a mixed message. But hats off to Chris, because I know he went through a few issues regarding that, but he's a genuine guy and a lovely guy. And he's such, you know, I love the way he goes out. His YouTube channel is my favourite YouTube channel.
Oh, mine too. I'm not great at sitting and watching things, but I can sit and watch Chris's videos because, as well as humorous, they are interesting, they are thorough, and I don't think he's done anything that's a dud, really.
Well, he's one of the biggest YouTube metal detecting followers. He's got 82,000 followers now on YouTube. I think a lot of that is through Battlefield Recovery, but a lot of it is through to him being open and honest. He's just genuine, down to earth, you know.
Yeah, we actually put a post out yesterday via the magazine with one of his videos regarding metal detecting and mental health, which again is a fantastic video discussing everything related to the anxiety, the depression side of things, and how metal detecting helps the individual. And the program was called World War II Treasure Hunters. Thank you, Ian Whiting.
Oh, well done.
Nice one, Ian.
The mental health side, Dave, is going to become more prevalent in January, February, when we're all locked down, can't get out. And I think, you know, the more we've got to absorb online and offline, the better, really.
Absolutely.
Well, as I'm sure Julian will agree, having the time sat at home, for me personally, because obviously I've been clinically extremely vulnerable, I've been able to put a hell of a lot of articles through the site, as you know, Adrian, because you check every morning.
Yeah.
And I've got 3-4 a day going on until mid-January. And then I've got at least another 30 still to upload because I haven't got around to editing them properly yet. And I'm sure, Julian, you'll attest to having a similar amount of work coming through and being able to concentrate at home.
Absolutely. I would say that, you know, if one can say there are advantages to this year, there are. Primarily people who said to me en masse, well, I can't bloody write. I haven't written anything since I was at school, Jules. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've proved to me over the last 9 months that you certainly can. Because I have to say, I've had some of the finest articles come from unknown authors who've just had the time, they're furloughed, they've sat down, they thought, you know what, I'm going to have a crack at that. And whenever I encounter that, I try and foster that, because it's a lovely thing for anybody to be a published author. And if you get a magazine article in, that is what you can class yourself as. And it sometimes takes coaxing and sharing, but again, I can't overstress this. I know I keep going on about sharing. Sharing, it's not just for the magazine's benefit. Sharing in our hobby enriches everybody because of the wealth of information you have. As I know, 2 years ago, I've got a fair bit of information stuck up here, and I've spewed out, 27 books, 500 magazine articles, numerous bits and bobs. I'm really so thankful I did, because 2 years ago, the old Jules died twice. So if I'd not done that, all that would have gone. So what was the point in ever taking up the hobby in the first place if you're not going to share it? So my message to everybody out there in these stressful times, if you think you'd like to have a go at writing, do it. If you feel you need any help, ask me. I'm always here to encourage you. Don't be scared. Don't be frightened. It's a wonderful thing. And when you see your name in print with photographs, it's a fabulous thing to show your family. It's one of those. That's the best thing that's come out of this bloody COVID. Is the fact for me, and for the hobby, is the element of increased sharing. The junk boxes that people are getting out of the garage now and going back through again. Oh, Jules, what's this? Or sending it through to both the magazines and saying, guys, can you help me with the ID? That's what it's all about. We've got social media now. We will survive this bloody thing. The hobby will survive it. But keep on going as you're going. And to say, yes, since you were at school, wow, it's been a real privilege. You guys can half write. And
again, that's something I can attest to, Jules. And if you do want to contact Julian with anything regarding metal detecting finds for assistance in finding out what they are, or to write an article, please, I'm sure you'll find him. He's open for everybody all the time, apart from when he's banned. And if you want to write for a much lesser publication, obviously we can put any of your articles, or even if you don't want to write an article and just show a find with a few bits of information, we can put them. More than happy. I mean, while we've been talking on the show tonight, Jules, I've had an email from somebody regarding a Memento Mori ring. So I think I've pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, Memento Mori. Latin for, it could be something to do with memory, memento, or mento. Basically a keepsake of a loved one who's departed. Yeah. So you have a Memento Mori ring. Victorians did it with a piece of the person's hair in it or something like that. They are, very emotional finds, because obviously extremely valued by the person who lost it.
Absolutely. So I've had an article through which I'll sort out tomorrow. And I'll probably keep it for the new year because, as I say, we've got plenty of articles going through, but I'll keep it for the new year because I'd like to see some new things coming out. And, I'm jumping on Jules' bandwagon. If you do want to, have a look at the magazine, the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, which the big detecting show is just a little byproduct of. I've been very, very busy on that for weeks now. Totally rebuilt the site, the app, as you all know, drink. And it's helped me because being off work, if I hadn't concentrated fully on doing what we've been doing, I would have probably gone under myself by now, Jules.
Yeah, it's one of those things, this subject of mental health issues, grievance, bereavement. Metal detecting is almost like an almost unknown tonic to help people with these. It's not a cure. It's a great assister. The amount of ex-military people I'm in contact with who've suffered terrible traumatic experiences of detectorists, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, anything like that, bereavement particularly. This hobby takes you into another world. I'll say it will not cure you, but it may help. And it's vital that people put videos out like you did. I know there's quite a few other people involved, like Jason Massey and the Detecting for Veterans would certainly reinforce what I'm saying. Is guys an amazing organisation that promotes metal detecting to helping out, military veterans. And it's not just military veterans, it's all walks of life could benefit from us. So It's my job, our job, all our jobs to promote this hobby to a greater level of awareness where people who think, "Ooh, I've always been interested," actually go out and get hold of a metal detector. It won't work for everybody, but for the vast majority, I'm pretty convinced that it will.
Well, as you said, Julian, about sharing information, when the Archaeology Metal Detecting magazine, which is a big mouthful, and I should have thought of something better when I started it. When we started it, I originally wanted it to be a hub for free information where people could get news, they could get identification, they could get, all sorts, and all that's on the website, as you've just seen. And you've also may have just seen the amount of different articles. We don't just concentrate on archaeology. We don't concentrate on metal detecting. I've got 2 articles up there. 3. One went up by a guy called Richard Freeman about cryptids, which are cryptozoological creatures like Nessie and such like. There's one by Steve Markham called The Hammer of the Gods, which is about symbology in Led Zeppelin albums, which is absolutely fascinating.
Oh, brilliant.
And also, unfortunately, the guy who wrote it passed away a few years ago. A guy called Mark Rosney, who was a friend of mine, and he's wrote an article about, and not many people know this. I spoke to someone the other day and I went, I don't know what you're on about. And Jules, Adrian, you're of just the right age to know this. The Wizard of Oz. The Dark Side of Oz. The Wizard of Oz, the film, if you start Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album at the very, very point of the third row, it simultaneously plays a soundtrack to The Wizard of Oz. And you wouldn't believe how well it turns out. If you go and find an article, Adrian, Julian, if you go and find it, I've actually put a video off YouTube, which has actually done it for you at the bottom. And it's honest to God, you'll watch it. If you have some of them mushrooms that Lisa picks and you watch it, you'll be like that. It's absolutely fascinating.
Oh, brilliant. I shall do.
You wouldn't believe, if you're a fan of Pink Floyd and if you're a fan of The Wizard of Oz, honestly, you'll just sit there agog because certain tunes are specific in relation to what's happening in the film. Nobody's ever admitted what it was done. But honestly, if it's coincidence, it's the greatest coincidence I've ever seen. So there you go.
I'll have some mushrooms. But Dave, hats off to you, mate. The site
absolutely
good now. Great. Like I said, without going into detail, every morning wake up and I go on the app and I look at the latest news you've got on there, and it saves me having to search for news on metal detecting or other interesting things. That's what I like as well. You've got other things on there. I said to you today, there's a video on there about your Masonic Lodge. You're a Freemason. You videoed a couple of years ago, and all right, it's not metal detecting, but it was interesting, and I watched that. And the ducking stall, the recent one you put on there, it's all good stuff, mate. So, it's doing you good. It's doing me good.
Interestingly, that article about the ducking school is by a guy called Doug Pickford, who's a local. He used to be editor of the Sentinel, and
get him to go on the website and read it.
Yeah, well, but I'm not telling you about the article. Go on the article, read it. Doug Pickford, and this is honestly, this will mind boggle you. He was actually the lead journalist for, I think, the Manchester Evening News during the Myra Hindley and Ian Brady case. So he's been on all the TV documentaries that you've seen on Emma Gerard and that. Doug appears as obviously the lead press officer at the time. And I've actually spoken to him, not in depth about it, because he actually comes quite emotional in relation to what, because he's been privy to information that we'll never know.
Yeah.
So, as I say, Doug writes for the magazine occasionally. He puts a thing over, and it's really good to see that information. For me, I've learned so much about. Even today, when I was putting the article together for the for the finds of the year, I learned so much from that because I'd forgot. So,
I think in this day and age, currently COVID, you can spend a lot of time searching on the internet, looking at YouTube, social media, but it's good for your mind to read.
Yes,
it really is. Just read. Don't look at pictures. Don't sit looking at TikTok for 14 hours like most youngsters do, but read something, fill the brain up. It refreshes you know, if you treasure hunting or the Archie Mag app, app. Sorry, Jules, we have to have a drink when the
app's mentioned.
He's mentioned, but no, it's true.
That can's actually not open.
Is it a can? I thought you had red wine, Jules.
No, mine.
Yeah, a bit Spartan now. Look,
get Lisa to crush some more grapes for you from your Roman football.
She's gone to bed where she's preparing for a lecture on relevance.
Well, listen, talking about people going to bed, I think Mrs. Higgins is due an early night as well. We don't want to keep her any longer.
Yes, absolutely.
Julian, as ever, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I know we've got you back later next month with another member of the Underground History Show team, and we'll be talking solely about the show itself. I've just lined up, Luke's lined up one guest, and I've lined up another two guests who've never been on the show. And one of them is, I'm not releasing her name yet because she is a massive coup for the show, I feel. And she'll be on hopefully on the 29th of January. And there's a young lady as well I've contacted today called History by Kaylee, which is a YouTube channel, which is basically a young lady from Holland discussing all things interested by her. So, for instance, she'll concentrate on Stonehenge and she'll do a video talking about Stonehenge, etc., etc. Absolutely brilliant YouTube channel. So, Kaylee, we hope, are going to be coming on as well in early February. So, and then we've got another chap who's coming on regarding the Holy Grail. So, sorry, next week we have, can't remember the names, but they are two people from representing Kellyco, which is one of the lead American metal detecting stores. Am I right in saying, everybody?
One of the biggest metal detecting distributors in the UK, in America. Sorry, yeah, in America. Don't forget Chris Cutler.
Yeah, I'm just getting that. Yeah, on the 14th is Chris Cutler from Archie. Which can you just describe Archie for us, Adrian?
Yeah, Archie. Chris Cutler. He's written a few articles for Treasure Hunting magazine, if I'm right, Jules.
Yeah, certainly has.
Yeah, Chris spends pretty much all his time researching historical maps of England and all over the country and uploading them to his website, Archie. I've forgotten what it is, but he's got a website, Chris Cutler. Google him. And on there, you can pay for a subscription and you can find out where your local historical finds were found, and also the historical maps into research. He's got some really, really good stuff for the whole UK, and he devotes so much of his time to it. And he's also found some very rare coins, gold coins, last year, which is hitting a national press based on his research. So I've forgotten the name of his website, but if you Google him, Chris Cutler, Kutler, you'll find more out about him. But yeah, really interesting guy. Never ever been online before, never done YouTube before, but he's been in the hobby for decades. Another one on the show, which is going to be really, really interesting.
Well, I'm hoping. I've just been looking at my phone because I had an alert saying that I've put something on against community standards. So I might be banned on Facebook. But look, the post was actually from 2014, so I might be getting banned for something I've done 6 years ago.
I'm doomed. Then.
That's nice.
Dave,
yes.
What I got you there? Could I just say the original format for tonight's show? Could I just ask you if possible, it would be able to air it maybe sometime future in the year, because I think Dan and I would be good together. We sort of think like each other. We are good friends. We're competitors, of course, but friendship rides above anything like that. And I think it would be an interesting show. And I think Dan and I would bounce off each other really coolly, sort of thing. I think listeners or viewers as well might appreciate that. So something maybe just to bear in mind for the future.
Absolutely, I'd love to. I mean, I've asked Dan to come back and do a show solely regarding the Searcher and everything about the Searcher. So he's agreed to do that when he's got the opportunity. But certainly, we'd love to have you. You're welcome back anytime, young man. You're one of my favourite guests on the show.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, Dave, not only thanking you for letting me be on the show, but also Jules, who I've known for a few years now. And I'm very, very fortunate to be able, he doesn't live too far away, to listen to him waffle on. Most people, like my wife, would probably fall asleep. But driving Jules to Detectival last year, spring and summer, oh my God, I'd pay him. You know, I don't charge him to drive him there, but the guy has got so much knowledge, and it's a privilege for being involved with Treasure Hunting magazine. And I thank you, Jules, for being a friend and also someone who's taught me a lot over the years. And thank you for coming on the show, because
you guys are.
Thank you.
Wow, what can one say? You guys are more than welcome. When I first met Dave at a Detectival years back, I knew you just know some people you're going to get on with and you're going to be lifelong friends. Like, same applies to yourself, Adrian. It's been a privilege. And on that final note of friendships, I'd like to say, thank you to everyone tonight for listening, putting up with the old baldy, having a right yarp on about stuff again. And I'd like to wish you all, every single person in the UK, particularly detectives, because that's just the way I am, but have a really happy new year. Shouldn't be too bloody difficult after the one we've just had, but let's hope things are going to get more positive, much better, and let's get out in those fields again, finding what we know lies out there for each and every one of us. Sometimes you have to look sideways, and the treasure of the hobby is that mate who's been detecting with you for 15 years. It's not all about the hoards and the glory. Some of it is, but sometimes we need to all look around, take a step back and look at the guys that are surrounding us, because that, perhaps, debatable sometimes, is the true treasure of our hobby.
Certainly is. Well, Julian, Happy New Year to yourself and Lisa.
To you. And to you, mate.
Adrian, to you as well. I hope you have a great New Year's Eve, New Year, and obviously all the best for everybody who's watching the show, all the people who've supported myself, Luke, Adrian, Treasure Hunting Magazine, Searcher, and everybody else who's involved in the hobby over the past year. It's been a pleasure doing the show for you. It surprised me how we've evolved with just a year. The magazines changed. We were forced to not print the magazine as we normally do. We've evolved the show to what you see today. The guests who've been on the show this year have been absolutely fantastic. We've had some excellent guests. I've learned so much off people. I've had so many good conversations, and it's been an honour to actually do that. And I wouldn't be in the position I am today if it wasn't for Luke pushing me, having ideas, kicking me up the arse and making me do things. And I've got to give Scott Holden from Detector Network a big shout out as well. If it wasn't for Scott over the past 2 months, where everyone else has been busy at work and I've been sat at home, he's kept me ticking, and he's helped obviously rebuild the website, launch the app. And I've had someone to talk to every day. So each and every one of you, thank you very much. You're all legends, and we're going to play out the show with the trailer for the new The Dig on Netflix. So Happy New Year, everyone, from ourselves, and have a great one.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Cheers, George. Thank you.
Should we take a look at them then?
Right. Things like this are usually done through museums.
Yes, but with the war coming, they couldn't embark upon any new ventures.
Well, I've been on digs since I was old enough to hold a trowel. My father taught me.
What are they?
We're standing in someone's graveyard, I reckon. Viking? Oh, maybe older.
Mr. Brown is an archaeologist.
Well, I'm an excavator.
You've come to dig up the mounds.
Do you think there's something beneath?
Who are those men?
They're from the museum.
gods! This is pretty. I think you'd better come and see.
Why would anyone want to bury a ship?
I expect this is a grave of a warrior or a king.
But there's more. There's much more.
War's looming. All hands are on deck to excavate before hostilities begin.
The Dark Ages are no longer dark.
Everyone's going to want a piece, and this is your find. Why else will you be playing around in the dirt while the rest of the country prepares for war? That means something, doesn't it?
From the first human handprint on a cave wall, we're part of something continuous.
Life is very fleeting. I've learnt that. Would you have dinner with me?
Yes?
It has moments you should seize.
A man could dig the earth his whole life through. Not find anything like I've discovered here.
Steer it steady, Mr. Brown. We're coming towards the edge of the atmosphere.
You say the word, and I'll dig.